This podcast is brought to you by absolutely no one. The Bold and the Beautiful podcast with Dave Ella. Who the hell is Dave Ella?
Welcome to the podcast, beautiful people. Thanks for tuning in. A warning that this conversation gets into the issues of depression, suicide and autism as I chat to a man who is well versed in all of these areas. His chosen career was to follow in his father's footsteps as a professional football player, and in doing so, he climbed the ladder of success, having donned the green and gold jersey for Australia in both rugby league and rugby union, a dual code international representative. And although football has been a big part of his life, it's not who he is. As a man, he has battled his own depression. He has also had more than one family member commit suicide. And as a dad to 4 kids, every day he's dealing with the challenges of raising his son Max, who has been diagnosed with ASD. That's autism spectrum disorder. He has been able to get the therapy for Max, which showed considerable results within months. And he considers himself pretty lucky because he was able to afford the treatment, but many can't. So along with his wife, Chloe, he started the 4 ASD Kids charity to assist other families to get the much needed support. It is now the driving factor behind what he does. I visited his home for a cup of tea and a Kingston biscuit or two, and we have a very raw and revealing chat. Even his dog Ace joins in a couple of times. My guest today, he's a tough bloke on the outside, a beautiful man on the inside. Please enjoy this conversation with Matt Rogers.
See, Max is 14 now, nearly 14. No, he is 14, just turned 14. I've literally got to grab him and say, look at me.
Yep.
You know, like,
yep.
And that's when I know I've got him, you know,
Yeah.
like, otherwise you just you don't know what he's listening to.
Yeah.
You know? So he's got a million
But they're
things
all
going
different,
on.
aren't they? Like every kid on the spectrum has something different about them. I've got some kids that respond really well to the noise and the slapping, like, break falling and landing on the mats and doing the forward rolls. And you get these kids that respond to that, and they come up out of a forward roll and they've got a big smile on their face, and you go, boom, I got you, and they love it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yes, I'm doing a lot of that with the kids, man.
Mate, martial arts, in this day and age, I don't think it could be more needed. Just a discipline for young people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the younger generation, man. I know every older generation says it.
Yeah. And we're getting old.
but never before have we had a time where there's been so much distraction in young people's lives.
Yeah.
And they're just going haywire.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so much competition about how they look, their social media, all this sort of shit, rather than just being kids, you know?
Yeah.
Drives me insane.
And, I remember as a kid just entertaining yourself a lot more.
Yeah.
Just playing with nothing.
100%.
And
I have this argument with my kids all the time. I'm bored. Work it out.
Yeah.
You got everything in this house. You got parks over the road. You got your bikes. You got your skateboards.
Yeah. There's too much choice sometimes.
I'm not here to entertain you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm your dad.
Yeah.
But like I'm happy to, I do heaps of stuff for the kids. But it's just, man.
Well, I'm lucky in a way. I've only got one to entertain. And that was a conscious decision I made, just to have one kid.
Yeah.
At the time, my wife wanted to have a second one, and I was like, I really don't want it.
Yeah.
I just want one.
Yeah.
And I don't know how parents, when you've got 3. I mean, I was one of 4. Yeah. And I don't remember a time when I got one-on-one attention from my parents.
Well, mate, that's why I took Phoenix, my 12-year-old. Me and her went and trekked Kokoda together. 8 days in the jungle, just me and her.
That's unreal.
Learning about Australia and what we're built on. And
that's unreal.
Mate, it was the best trip of my life.
Yep. And what made you want to go to Kokoda? I mean, it's a pretty amazing...
Yeah, I've just got both my grandfathers, both Chloe and my grandfathers were both in the Second World War.
Yeah.
And I've done the Kokoda Challenge here, and I wanted to get up there and actually see it.
Do it for real.
And understand it. And, mate, it was the most moving, emotional, just unbelievable week. Unbelievable. And to be there with my 12-year-old girl
Was there many other people doing it at the same time?
Well, I took the group, so we did it as a bit of a fundraising activation for my charity. So we took 26 people.
Wow.
Two other. Well, there were 4 other families that took their kids.
Yep.
And mate, all of them. One family, super wealthy family, took their 2 boys, and the husband and wife came. And the guy came to me after the trek. He goes, "I don't know how I'm going to say this to people." And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Mate, the life we live and the privilege that we live with." He goes, "We've travelled the world, we've done everything." He goes, "But nothing's impacted our family like this trek."
That's unreal.
And I'm like, well, I think if you just say that, I think
exactly.
That's,
just keep it real. Say how it affected you.
Because I said to him, he bought the trek at an auction last year for our charity. And I said to him, "Mate, would you mind doing a testimony for me at the next one?"
Yeah, great.
Because we're going to go again in March next year. And he's like, "Oh, mate," he goes, I'd be honoured to. He goes, I want to come back.
Wow.
So I'm going to go, so next year I'm doing it in March and October again. I'm going to take my other daughter in March and then my other son in October.
They're a bit older, those two.
Yeah, 20 and 24, 21 and 24.
And what's Phoenix?
She's 12.
12.
Yeah.
And how did she go as a 12-year-old? Really?
I did it easy.
That is so good.
Yeah,
And do you reckon that just like cemented your and her relationship?
We've got a really strong bond, you know. Like when I retired, I just took a year off, didn't do anything. And it was the year before she started school. So every day, her and I would go and have a milkshake together in the morning.
Yeah, great.
And it just formed a bond that's really unique. I mean, every dad and daughter's got a unique relationship. Yep. I just think that I was fortunate enough that the timed right where I had the time to sit with her and just engage. You know what I mean? And that time you just never get back. Yeah. You know,
it's those little things, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I've got some. You know, I do the same with my boy. We have those just little moments. Like every morning, I make him a smoothie. I make him a banana smoothie. He wakes up, the smoothie's there. We sit there together at the breakfast table and we drink our smoothie together. And he rates it out of 10 for me.
Right. Mate, you know, it's funny you say that. I love my spaghetti bolognese, right? I'll go to the best Italian restaurant. I'll order spaghetti bolognese. I just love it. Yeah. Right? So I've got a bit of a, you know, do my own spaghetti bolognese. So every time I cook it, I'm like, I think this is the best one I've ever done. Yeah. We had it last night. I said to Phoenix, I reckon this is the best one I've ever cooked. And she's like, nah, it's not the best one. I love how she rates it. She's honest. But I could ask her to do anything with me. And she trusts me enough to go, I'll do it, Dad, I'm with you. Yeah, that's great. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's a real, I think that's born out of that time that I spent in those early years. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just investing in that relationship. Yeah. Which, you know, there's not a dad on the planet that wouldn't want to do it. I was just lucky enough to be able to do it. Well, I don't know. I had this conversation with Pete Murray in the last podcast I did, and we both said we just don't get dads that don't want to spend time with their kids, and there's a lot of them out there. They just want to. I guess some of them are so driven to succeed, or not succeed. So they feel like their number one role is to provide. Yeah. You know, I mean that's the only reason that I could think that I just got to go and do stuff to provide. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you sort of like things get left by the wayside because you're so focused on being that person. Or they're stuck. I think that's part of it too. I think there could be also that they could be stuck in the old stereotypical roles of male, female. Yeah. And hey, okay, that's the wife's job. Yeah. You know, my job is to provide. Yeah. And I hang out with the kids when I can, and we do what we can. But the wife's role is to connect with the kids and make sure they're educated and make sure they're, you know, doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point. You know, and then I think it also depends on how they were raised with their dad. You know, so what the shit that they're taking from their relationship on how they grew up and how they're taking it into their kids, and there's a lot of that rubbish going on. How easy is that to drag into from generation to generation? It's easy. But I think you've got to, like, for me, I had a shit upbringing, and my dad left when I was about 1.5. So he left, absconded, went away, didn't see him again, had no connection with me whatsoever. And I remember growing up just thinking, how do you not want to know who your son is? How has he never given me a call in 20-something years? That's nuts, isn't it? It's crazy. I couldn't imagine it. I don't understand it. And
But I've made a conscious decision to not take that shit into my relationship with my kid.
Yeah, that's good.
And sometimes I'm probably a little bit over.
It's like the helicopter parent.
My boy goes, Dad, just
leave me alone.
Leave me alone, mate. Like,
give some space.
I go, but buddy, do you know how much I love you? Like I seriously, I look at him and go, dude, you're not going to understand this right now, and you'll know it when you've you'll know it when you've got a kid, and you'll just understand how much I just bloody love you. And he's like, Dad, okay, I get it. It's all good. But you've got heaps of kids. You've got like 75.
4. Yeah, 4 kids. So when I had my first one though, right? Yeah. And you know, you're saying to your boy, oh, you know how much I love you. You know how much I love you, right? So I remember I had my first kid, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I could ever love anything anymore.
I know.
If I have another kid, how am I going to give him?
I know.
How am I going to do this?
How do you split your love around?
Yeah, but it just works.
I still don't get it.
Yeah, mate. You know what? Until I had it, until it happened.
Yep.
I just thought, man, there's no way I can have another kid and love it anyway, like as much as this kid.
Yeah.
And it just works, you know. And then sometimes I love my other kids more than I love that first kid.
You know what?
It depends who's behaving.
Because I look at now, the love I have for that little fella. Oh, here comes trouble.
Yeah,
look at you. What's the dog's name?
Ace.
Ace. How funny is this? My boy's initials are Ace.
Oh, really?
ACE, and I purposely did that. Yeah. Last name's Ella, first name's Aston, and I named his middle name after my grandfather. Yeah. I purposely did it so he'd have the initials ACE, and I thought one day he's going to grow up and use it for a business, use it for some sort of, Ace something. But he doesn't get called Ace. He gets called Minnie.
Yeah, right.
So since he was 6 weeks in the stomach, I knew my wife was pregnant. We found out she was pregnant. I wanted to relate to the baby somehow. We had a boy's name and a girl's name, but obviously you don't know the sex of the kid just yet. So I said, okay, I don't want to call it Peanut or Pickle or whatever people call it. I said, how about Minnie? It's like either going to be a mini you or a mini me. So she goes, yeah, that sounds cool. So I started relating to it as Minnie, talking to it in the stomach as Minnie. At 20 weeks, found out it was a boy, knew the name, but I still called him Minnie. Now he's nearly 9. I'm still calling him Minnie.
Yeah, right.
All of my mates call him Minnie. All of his friends call him Minnie. So,
well, mate, I gave my son, my second son, his middle name's Danger.
I saw Danger's my middle name. Is that why you did it? So you can say that?
Yeah, so he can say it when he grows up.
Were you smoking something when you did that?
I don't know what I was. You know who told me about it? George Smith from the Wallabies, actually. He said, what's his name? Lead singer of Green Day. Billy Joe.
Oh, yeah.
He did it with his son. I thought, that's cool. So George Smith told me about it. Ace, Ace, outside.
Get out of here.
Ace, out.
There's always something that goes on. Yeah, go and take him out. I'll just entertain everyone with a little bit of music for 30 seconds.
Beautiful.
See, this is what happens when you come into people's homes. You just got to deal with reality.
Yeah, well,
it's
mate.
Unreal. So you've got your 4 kids.
Yep.
How old are the first one? You say 24.
24. Yeah, just turned 24.
And
my daughter, she's 21 this year. In a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then Maxie, my little fella, he's been not without his challenges over the years. He's autistic, Maxie. So it was a big eye opener.
How was so when did he get diagnosed?
When he was 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah. So sort of
which is about the age when that sort of happens.
2.5 years ago.
That's sort of when they get diagnosed. Yeah, it's around 2, 3.
Well, if you're aware and you're on top of it, and it's fairly prevalent, you'll be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
Some people they sort of don't want to pick it up.
Yeah, I know.
Like in a way that like, oh no, it's like, like if we listened to one half of our family, we wouldn't have done anything.
Yep.
Oh no, if we listened to 3/4 of our family, we probably wouldn't have done anything.
Yep.
Because they were just, oh no, he'll be right. He'll talk when he wants to talk.
This is normal. This is fine.
You didn't talk till you were 7.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. And then my little girl, she's 12. Yeah, she's 13 this year. She's 13 in September.
So with Max, obviously that's a challenge unto itself. And how did you actually pick up on it? How did you notice it?
Well, man, we were all aware of some stuff.
Yeah.
Just look things like...
Because every kid with autism has very different behaviours.
Very different characteristics and little traits. Max just sort of one day just went glazed over, It was like, and I sort of joke about it, and you might have heard me say it before, but it was almost like having a little zombie in our house. Yeah. Like when you watch a zombie movie, they just walk and they're not looking at you, they're looking through you.
Yeah.
That was Max.
Okay.
And he'd just walk around the house, and it's about, about that 18-month to 2-year age where the signs of autism, they show. Mm. And he went from sort of, being a child that would sort of wander over to me and sort of give me a kiss, and I'd say, Maxie, come give me a kiss, and he would just walk straight past me. Mm. And I remember saying to Chloe, you won't give me a kiss anymore. And Chloe was like, he's a boy, he just doesn't want to give me a kiss. And you sort of like can go, yeah, probably,
Yeah.
And then, mate, that Christmas, so that was, what was that? He was, so that Christmas, so it was about 2.5. We're down having a big family Christmas together with Chloe's family down at Woy Woy on the Central Coast. And Max was just obsessed with this dripping tap, and he would sit at this dripping tap and he would just watch it all day. All his other cousins are running around playing, and he's just stuck at this tap. And Chloe's father's a barrister. He'd represented a lady who had taken her child's life. This is many years ago, 20 years ago.
She took her child's life?
Yeah, he was autistic, this kid.
Wow.
So he'd studied it. He wanted to know everything about it. Why would this lady do this? He had to represent her, Anyway, he picked up on it pretty much straight away.
Yeah.
And he came over to me and said, oh, look, you guys have got to get some tests done with Max. And...
Were you in denial?
I wasn't. Chloe certainly was.
Yeah.
And she didn't take that advice.
Yeah.
Well, like her and her dad didn't speak for the next 6 months.
Because of that?
Yeah, because she just didn't want to, she didn't want to have to, she just felt like she'd failed as a mum, And it was a really hard time. And then, we went through a whole heap of tests and this, that and the other. And it's not easy trying to get a diagnosis for your child, because the one thing that the medical profession want to do is, they don't want to just put a label on your kid, for starters. Because then you just think, oh, life's over, and whatever you might think. But also they want to get it right. You know what I mean? So it takes time. Yeah. And we had this original diagnosis of delayed developmental disorder, not otherwise specified.
Aren't they all part of the spectrum?
Yeah, sort of. I don't even. They wouldn't.
I don't get it. There's so many of them.
They wouldn't put us. They wouldn't put him on this on that spectrum sort of band. Initially, and then after a few more months, we finally got that diagnosis. Yeah, look, he's autistic, and man, that just blew the doors off us. Chloe was in bed for a week.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, man, what are we going to do? I didn't see this coming, and we had a newborn baby at that time. We had a 1-year-old as well. Yeah. So they're 16 months apart, the kids. So, mate, it was.
Did that bring in fears for Phoenix
absolutely.
As well? Yeah.
Oh, mate, I was just watching her like a hawk. I'm thinking, far out, because it's not. Once we got that diagnosis, we were also told by the doctor, it's like, look, it's a 500% chance now, greater than before, that you were going to have another autistic child.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, because we wanted to have more kids. So we just sort of went, okay, well, let's not have any more kids for now. Let's just get through this, make sure that Phoenix is all right. And look, when I say all right, like just typically developed, so we don't have to, just do all the crazy stuff that we needed to do with Max to get into a point where, he could function and he could, be a... And it's hard because, as an autistic parent, right, and the way I speak about it, like I've lived it, but when I talk about it, some people take offence to it because I'm like, Max isn't normal, Phoenix is normal. It's like, it's all what it is, you know what I mean? Like Max is normal in his way, Phoenix is normal in her way. Yeah. We see Max, as just an amazing little kid, but it's not normal what he had to go through to get him to a point to be able to go to school.
Yeah, and people get offended at that because you're...
Yeah, it's like, it drives me insane. It blows my bloody mind that someone wants to challenge me about saying something offensive about a child that I've raised that understands, I understand. It's like, when I say, Phoenix is normal, it's like, no, it's typical. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, she's typically developed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, she's typically developed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's normal. She's like 95% of the rest of the children.
Because they want you to be politically correct in the way you say your stuff.
I get so fed up with that PC bullshit.
Yeah,
Man. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
And I'm here to do the best for my son. Like, we run a charity that raises money to help autistic children, to live their best life.
Ace is back in. How did you even open that door, you ratbag?
No.
Come here, just sit down. Sit down. Just sit. Stay there. Good.
Yeah, and mate, we get people, writing on our Facebook page, on our, sending me emails to our info email address, criticising us about the way we've worded something.
Yeah.
And then you look into them, and they don't do anything. They just want to criticise.
The old keyboard
we've
warriors.
raised $2 million for kids with autism. We've helped them get into schools. We want them to live their best life. We want to create the platform for them to be able to do that. So when you're doing it, then come criticise me. But otherwise, just zip it. Yeah. We're not here to hurt anyone. We're here to help people.
Yeah.
And it really frustrates me that that people they'll look for something as little as that to criticise you on, but they won't look at the. It's like it's the way the world is, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's looking for the negative.
Yeah.
Well, you turn the news on, all that sort of stuff. It's like, let's look at the positives.
I hate it. I don't watch the news.
No,
I don't watch the news.
It's insane, isn't it?
I don't read the paper.
Yep.
Very, very rarely do I look at stuff, only because
it's on top of a bit of current
I want to stay on top a little bit, but I don't watch TV. I don't watch shows. I know I know you did Survivor last year and the year before, but I don't watch that stuff. I hate reality TV.
Yeah. Well, I hate reality TV too, funnily enough. Except I love Survivor.
And you've done Dancing with the Stars. You've done two.
No, that's a bleep on the. You're not allowed to talk about that.
We crossed that one out. That didn't happen. Yes. Look, the thing I get why people like Survivor and like watching this stuff. I just think people are too obsessed with other people's lives.
Mate, and that's where I believe the shows like Married at First Sight and Bachelor, it's a train wreck. And it makes people feel good about themselves because they're like, well, I'm not that bad, look at that.
Yeah, they watch the Kardashians,
and
they watch this Big Brother and shit.
Yeah, it drives
but still, look, and I'm not here to naysay on stuff, but I know I love Survivor, and it's been around for a long time, and you grew up watching it and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of people love it. But at the end of the day, that show is based around manipulation, deceit, backstabbing, all the bad stuff of relationship.
How you can manipulate a situation and trick people into believing one thing and doing another.
Exactly. So where's the positive in that? It
was hard, man.
People shit.
I found it genuinely hard because that's not me, and that's probably why I didn't go very far in the game both times, because of that reason.
So why'd you go back for a second one?
You know why? For the solitude.
Just to get away, have a holiday.
I'm telling you, it is, man, to be out there, just away from all the rubbish in the world, to be out there with no phone, it's hard being away from family, but
there's a real peace going out to places
peaceful,
like
man.
that.
I would wake up in the morning and just go and sit and meditate on the beach for an hour, just total quiet. There was cameras, you forget the cameras are there, and the game's a game. I just went in there with, thought, if I have to burn someone, I'll burn someone. If not, but I didn't. I never got to that point, which I was lucky.
But you're right. That solitude. I did years ago. I spent 5 days out in the middle of Australia near Uluru.
Oh wow!
For a what's called a vision quest. And you go out there and you fast beforehand. And when you get out there, you spend a night with the group, but you're sort of by yourself in the group, and then you spend a night at the end with the group, and then you've got 3 nights and 4 days by yourself, and you've got to go and find your own patch of desert. You've got to mark out an area about 3 metres in diameter, and you can't leave that patch for the 4 days and the 3 nights. You don't eat. All you've got is water. They don't want you to sleep if you can, and you're not talking to anyone. You've got no one around. You've got no phone, nothing. They don't even want you. No books. You can't read. You can't do anything, and all this sort of stuff is meant to help you get into a more enlightened state. And especially the not eating, it's meant to help you get into this place of having visions. And some people do. I didn't. I felt like I probably needed an extra few days out there to really
Just lock in.
To lock into that, you know. But man, what an amazing experience to have. No Facebook, no social media, no phone.
Yep.
I missed the hell. My boy was only about 2 at the time, so that was driving me crazy. But all I would do at night, and we had no tent. You had to sleep in basically a sleeping bag under the stars.
Yeah.
And I'm scared shitless of snakes.
Yeah, I don't like that.
So
either.
the whole time out, and I Googled what's out in that desert, you know, before I went out there, and they were talking about king browns and this, and I'm shitting myself. So the whole time I'm laying awake, just going, Jesus. But it made you really think about family. It made you think about how
what's
simple,
important, man.
How simple it is.
Makes you think about what's important to you, because you get the world is just so busy. Man, I'll tell you, I did at the end of last year. I went fishing in a place called Coral Bay on Ningaloo Reef, right north of Exmouth, like just middle of nowhere. I went fishing there for a week on a boat, no reception, no nothing, with 3 mates. Had the best week. Came back the next day. I got on a plane and flew to Dubai.
Oh.
So you can imagine the contrast, right?
Yeah.
Nothing, just total solitude, catching fish with 3 good mates. Then my wife and I met some friends up in Dubai for a week. It was soul destroying.
Yeah.
It was literally.
It was
just
different end of the spectrum.
Just like you go from this place of nothingness that's pure beauty into just this man-made concrete jungle and just opulence and everything. And it's just like, man, it made me feel dirty.
Yeah.
It was really like, it was a real eye-opener for me. That what makes my heart sing, what makes my soul like go, that's what I need. So that's why I go and, you know, bushwalk and trail run out in the hinterland here, because I need to. You know, a good friend of mine started a business called Wild Earth. It's an outdoor adventure store. It does everything, you know, rock climbing, hiking, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I was sitting down with him after I'd done that trip, and I just sort of said to him, what? Because he just doesn't seem like the sort of guy that would have a business like that. And I said to him, why did you start this? And he's like, mate, he goes, I was just working my brains out in the finance game, and then I just went for a bushwalk. And I sat in the bush and I realised what made my heart tick, he goes, man, if this is me, this is probably most blokes.
Yeah.
And I said,
without a doubt,
I'm going to start a store that encourages people to get out into the wild earth.
Yeah, great.
You know, embrace it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's me. You know, like my life's a zoo at the best of times. You know what I mean? Like kids and, you know, TV stuff, and, you know, we produce a TV show, and, you know, got the charity to run, and, you know, Chloe does radio, and it's just, you know,
it's hectic.
Just juggling. I feel like the guy in the circus sometimes, it's spinning the plates.
Yeah.
And he's just spinning that plate, kick that up, run over, spinning that plate, kick that one up, you know. And it's just those quiet times just out in nature that I just feel like, man, that's what it's about. You know?
But isn't it funny? We're all, you know, that, like as you said, that Dubai, you know, Dubai is the epitome of opulence. You know, like you go over there, the buildings they're building, the place, you know, apparently most of those buildings over there are all empty.
Yeah, they are.
But the money, the wealth, the opulence, it's sort of something that everyone craves for and desires, and everyone sort of searches for. But when they get there, it's like,
Well, mate, I've made a lot of money in my life, and there's times that I've made a lot less money in my life, and I don't remember the difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like once you've got a nice car, you're not going to buy another one. You're not going to buy one every day. You got a nice couch. You got a nice couch. You know what I mean? That joy of getting that thing for that first time, it's gone, and you got to find something deeper than that.
Yeah.
And it took me a while. It took me, you know, our life now is what I invest. You know, and I say invest. I invest my money in travel with my family because I remember as a kid growing up, 2 amazing experiences I had with my mum and dad, and they were 2 holidays that they took me on, and I just remember them. That's all I remember, really.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? I just that's where I got their attention and I got their time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't remember anything else.
Yeah.
The good times were those moments. So I want to create memories for my kids that they grow up and they go, yeah, I want to do that with my kids.
Yeah.
And you know, that's and like, people won't say travel's an investment. It's an investment in my family. It's an investment in my relationships. That's why it's critical for me.
And I think though a lot of people travel the wrong way. A lot of people travel and they go and just want to stay in this beautiful hotel and eat beautiful food, and it's like, well, that's all we're doing, but it's more than that. It's more than the places you go and the shopping that you're doing, and it's going and having that time together with whoever you're going with, whether it's your partner, your family, your friends, and enjoying time together. And if you can go away and you can be just as happy in a 5-star hotel as in a little caravan going down somewhere else, that's, to me, is what it's all about.
And I'm more happy in the little caravan.
Yeah.
We did a road trip in an RV down to Avoca last year.
Great place.
Jeez, it was good. Just in the RV. And, I moved up here 15 years ago. Moved up and I didn't have a house, and the Titans had a relationship with the Sheraton Mirage, so they said, I'll just go and stay there for a week and, get your house sorted and blah, blah, blah. I remember this vividly, man. We're sitting in sort of like this little section of the foyer area. We're on our own in this sort of room and these beautiful couches, and my kids at the time were 10 and 14. They're sitting on these big couches with their feet up and they're playing those. Remember those old PlayStation portables, the little PSPs?
Yeah.
They both got one of those, and they're playing them, their feet up, and blah blah. And I elbowed Chloe, and I'm like, look at this. This is just an expectation of them. Like they're in a 5-star hotel, and I said, hey kids. They're like, yeah. I'm like, what do you reckon? They're like, oh yeah. Back to their PSP, it's like, oh man, where's the gratitude? I bled for this. But mate, they've grown into great young adults, those two kids, and they are grateful, and they're great kids, and
they haven't got kids on the way, do they?
No, my 24-year-old, I don't think it'll be far away until before he gets engaged, but he's got a beautiful partner, and they're very serious. They live together, and they've got a great family, so we're pretty close with their family as well.
That's great.
So, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I think that sort of stuff. He went through a pretty tough time. He got signed to Cronulla and sort of didn't work out.
Did he?
Yeah, and it just a lot of pressure. He went to Cronulla with his grandfather and then me, and
the pressure there. And the expectations from other people. Here comes another Rogers. He's going to be good.
And it was before they'd won the comp too, so it's like, he's going to be the saviour. And it was sort of like, I look back on it now, and I sort of thrived on the pressure of being Dad's son, and I liked it, to be honest. And because I was that way, I didn't really validate his fear of it.
Yeah.
And I sort of
because it was easy for you. It just sort of
and I sort of let him down a little bit. I got to say, like I don't feel like I was there enough for him in that period. But look, we're great now.
What's he doing now?
He's in sales.
Okay.
And it's funny because I was so worried about him, and coming out of that, because I just didn't want him to feel like that my love for him was based upon his success or the succession of my career. I just was if he didn't play, if he never picked up a football, it wouldn't have bothered me. And I wouldn't have loved him any less. But it seemed like he wanted to do it, so I was encouraging him to, chase it. But when it sort of fell off, I was sort of worried of his mental health. I'm like, I don't want him to feel like he's failed me or failed the family or anyone, So I was a bit concerned about that. And he went off the rails a little bit for a while. But Chloe was always great. Like Chloe and Jack have got a great relationship, and Chloe was always like, listen, he's amazing with people. He's not going to have a problem in life. He's very similar to me when it came to his studies. I think school was a necessary evil for him. He didn't like it, and he wasn't. He passed everything, but he wasn't a scholar. But he's just good with people, and he's smart. He's got street smarts, and she said he'll be fine. And he's got into sales, and he's just braining it. He's just doing great, and he's loving it, which is great. And he's got a really good mentor in his life, a young fella who's just done really well, and he's giving him books to read, and he's embracing that.
Yeah, great.
He's really growing and developing as a person into a really, really. I'm just really proud of him. He's a really good man.
You touched on mental health there for a sec.
Yeah.
And for those of people that don't know, your dad suffered from depression. And I know that you were a little bit worried about it, because they do say that it can be sort of hereditary in a way, or can sort of...
Well, I think it just... I've had my moments, man, I tell you.
We've all had our moments, man.
Yeah, far out. I had real concerns. My father committed suicide, but his brother committed suicide as well.
Really?
He committed suicide probably 15 years before my dad did. So my dad was living with that.
How long did your dad have depression for?
Oh, mate, it's a few years. Yeah, it's probably hit him pretty hard after Mum died.
Yeah.
And he just never really got out of the hole, And in terms of the flow-on effect, like my brother and I, my brother, he's my best mate. He's a couple of years older than me, and after Dad died, he tried to commit suicide.
Your brother did?
Yeah, and it was just a really, really tough time. He was in a pretty bad way, my brother, but he thought he wasn't. I think he thought he was okay.
Yeah,
and in turn, I thought he was okay.
Yeah,
and he wasn't.
But that shit catches you when you least expect it, doesn't it? And you can have a good day one day, and then suddenly the next day it is just all turned upside down.
About 18 months ago now, I had one of my really good mates. I met him probably 10 years ago. He's an ex-pro cyclist, and his dad committed suicide, and so we'd sort of connected, through another professional cyclist friend of mine, and we just became really good mates. And I spent a bit of time in Melbourne at one point, and hanging out with him, and all this sort of stuff. And anyway, I was in Melbourne 18 months ago, and just hanging out there, and he was just telling me, I'm really struggling, and I'm like, mate, he said, we've got to talk. I said, yeah, let's just talk all the time, right? Talk all the time. I came home, and 2 days later he killed himself.
Oh, fuck.
And it just sent me on put me in a real bad headspace, because I felt like I didn't talk to him enough. But it was just after I'd come back, and I thought, I thought we were going to talk in a few days, but it was straight away. I didn't realise how bad he was.
Yeah.
And it put some bad, when I say bad thoughts in my head, it wasn't like I wanted to kill myself. It was just like, wow, if that can happen to him like that, that can happen to me. And then it took me back to the time with my dad. And I took myself, I was in a bad way, and I was just worried about me. So I'm like jumping all over the place. And Chloe rang all my mates. She goes, I'm worried about him. So probably one of my best mates from my footy days lives in the US with his family. He put his whole family on a plane. They flew straight out here.
Unreal.
Spent 2 weeks here with me, and I went and got some help professionally. And the ultimate sort of, I guess, end of the story was that the doctor's like, mate, you're good. He goes, but you've just had a traumatic event that's brought up all this other stuff from your past. He goes, just keep, just be aware, and if you start to feel, anything, just, you got to go see your GP. And it's really important that, because here's the thing, man, at that point, if Chloe didn't pick up on it, I wouldn't have said anything, because I didn't know what was going on with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think when you're in that hole, it's so hard, and it's so important as friends to just keep your eye on your mates, because at that point, in my dad's darkest hour, he wasn't going to pick the phone up and ring his mate and go, I'm thinking I'm going to kill myself tonight.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
No.
So it's.
But even the thing is, and you're 100% correct on that, but also you're correct on, even when you're starting to feel bad, you're not going to ring up your mates and say it.
Well, you don't want to be, you
don't want to be a burden.
Yeah, it's exactly right. So I don't want to annoy them with this crap.
Yeah, and then your mate just goes, mate, come on.
Snowballs.
Yeah.
But that's why I love that Are You OK, the Are You OK, and campaign that runs about mental health. So it's like, there's an Are You OK day, and people just sort of ask it flippantly and that. But we've all got mates where you can generally go, mate, are you okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
But are you really okay? And I've had to seen some stuff on social media where I've just got straight on the phone to mates and gone, mate,
I've done the same,
is everything all right?
Yeah, I've just gone, what? You just see some of those posts from people and just go, geez.
And I'm just like, man.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important as mates, to be just so vigilant of that, and just sort of understanding some of the signs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's for those of us, and I'll put me in the category now, that are healthy mentally. You know what I mean? It's really important, as a mateship group, with your circle of friends, that you sort of all know each other well enough to know if something's a little bit off, and have the courage to say, man, is everything good?
Yeah.
Can I help?
Yeah.
And
I think a big thing too, Matty, is the person themselves they have to talk about it.
Yep.
You know, like I suffered sexual trauma as a kid.
Yep.
And what I found has helped me go through, you know, the depression that comes as a result and all that sort of places where you go, you know, dark places in your head. It helps because I talk about it. Yep. And I talk about I can freely talk about it on my podcast. I can freely talk about it to people.
It's like taking a weight off your shoulder.
Man, totally. It's like but you're helping yourself.
Yeah, it's like, oh man. And like when I was going through that crap, and my mate came out, and then, you know, I had buddies ringing me. I mean, my phone just went berserk. Well, it just lit up, you know, and I was just like, man, people actually care, for one. And then when I sat down with my mate from the US, and he's like, mate, tell me what's going on, you know, like, and I just sort of told him everything, and he's like, mate, I can't believe you're dealing with all that on your own. And I think as guys, we sometimes do that. We just feel like you just keep loading stuff on.
Yeah.
Without dealing with the stuff underneath, and it just, you know, you're going to overflow, you know, and that was sort of where I was at, you know. So, yeah, I was glad that my wife, you know, she sort of picked up on some things and was like, this isn't good. Started ringing people and you know, forced me to go to the GP. Went to the GP, told him what had gone down. He goes, yeah, mate, I want you to go and speak to some people. So I went and saw a psychologist for a few appointments, and you know, we dug out a bit of stuff, and it's good to talk. You know, mate,
it's so good to talk.
It is. And mate, I'd actually, like, I was talking to my wife about this. You know, I'm like at the point now where our life gets so busy and so full, and we're doing this, that, and the other, that you can sometimes just forget things, and something will creep up and it'll trigger something or whatever. I'm like, it's almost like, you know, just doing a quarterly like check-in with the psychologist to go, man, this is what's going on in my life. I'm not feeling great or whatever, or, you know, or I'm feeling great, but, you know, I can see some stuff on the horizon, and just sort of clearing the decks a little bit.
Look, it's the same. It's no different to taking your car in for a tune-up or going to the gym. And we look after our body, and we make 100%. Sure we go to the gym every day or 3 times a week or whatever. But we're not looking after our mind and our head every day or every week.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and you let it get to a point that's 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the track, and suddenly you have a blowout, and you go, oh, fucking, why did that happen?
Yeah, and I think if you are prepared to sort of do that and deal with it, then you're sort of more equipped to help your mates.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and after going, you know, and seeing a psychologist and chatting through some stuff, it really put me in just this amazing headspace where like, I was telling everyone, all my mates, mate, you got to go see this guy. Mate, you're going to come out of there like brand new. You're dealing with that? No, don't worry about that. I'm telling you, go to this guy. He'll deal with all that and more. And you're going to come out feeling amazing.
But it's the same as when you find a good mechanic for your car. You tell your mates, you go, dude, go and get your car there.
So true, man. That is so true.
You know, and I like what you do when you bring in awareness to it. Like you were the ambassador for Movember. Are you still
I was a couple of years ago. Yeah. I don't do any more ambassadorial roles with any other charities now, because it just.
All your time's taken up with
because, you know, with 4 ASD Kids, our charity, I don't want to sort of not muddy the waters, but just dilute the water.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
enough.
Like, we want the there's so many good charities out there that are doing amazing stuff. You know, Movember's great. You know, Living's great. You know, Beyond Blue, like they're all doing great stuff. And I support all of them 100%, but I just can't give up.
You've only got so much time.
There's only so much in me. And one thing I don't want to do is stress myself out and put me into a position where my mental health is at risk by supporting charities that, you know, are about people's mental health, you know, and you know, it's a big job. We've got a big responsibility with what we do with our charity. You know, we fund children into programs. If I don't raise the money that we need, then I've got to ring a family and go, you know what, you've got to take your kid out of that program because we can't afford to pay it anymore. Yeah,
and those programs are expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, some of them are very expensive. So, you know, and that's just a non-negotiable for me. So it's really important that we remain vigilant on that stuff. But look, at the end of the day, you know, I'll show up to functions and, you know, do whatever, and, you know, I'll pop up here and there at all different sorts of charities. But our real goal, because I think, you know, charities are really important in this country. And one of the things, when Max was diagnosed and there was no funding for the program that he needed to go into, we could afford it, but there were so many families that couldn't. And I remember when we started the charity, people go, why don't you lobby the government? I'm like, we are. But that's going to take time. And right now, people are suffering and they're hurting because they can't get the help they need for their child. If I don't do something, who's going to do it? Like,
And it overwhelms too many parents, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm in a position where I can help, so I'm going to help. And I'm not going to sit back and whinge about what's not getting done, because I can actually do something. And that was a real, tough time for us, because we were dealing with stuff with Max as well, but we just figured, man, he jumped a 2-year wait list to get into the school that he got into. 2-year wait list, because all the parents on that wait list before Max couldn't afford to put their children into that program.
Unreal.
And after 3 months of Max being in that program, our son started talking to us again, and we got our son back, and he was engaged with the family, and we just sat here, and Chloe was in tears thinking about the other families
that couldn't afford it.
And their kids are still little zombies walking around their house that they don't. And she's like, we're going to go raise money and help all those families.
So how much of your time does the charity take?
Oh, mate, it's pretty much the focus. Like it's.
Is that sort of your focus of what you do now?
It's what we do.
Yeah.
It'd take up 50% of my time.
Okay.
Yeah, easy. Like it's a solid 50%, probably a little bit more. But we've just sort of put a new board together, and for years it was sort of pretty much just Chloe and I.
Yeah.
And I partner up with some pretty influential people now that are sitting on the board of 4ASD Kids now, that can just add weight and amplify all the stuff that we were doing before.
Yeah.
So Joe and Renee Ingalls, who are great friends of ours, Joe plays for the Utah Jazz. They sit on our board now, and they've done. I mean, they did an activation last year for 4ASD Kids when the Jazz played the Lakers. And all the players wore 4ASD Kids shoes.
Oh, great!
They auctioned them off, and they raised like $150,000 on the day.
Yeah.
It was just amazing, and they're just amazing people. So to have, a good friend of mine, Rob Bell, who he was a bit of a high flyer in the digital media world and owned a big media company and sold that, and he's like, I just want to give back, let me help you out. And he came up with the concept to create our TV show called Maxing Out, which is basically a loose story, a loose journey of our journey with Max. We put people through this big challenge, but we tell the story of Max along the way. It's like in the beginning when we got the diagnosis with Max.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you feel? It's like, oh, we're terrified. So we go, we'll challenge someone. Hey, do you want to do this? How do you feel? I'm terrified. And then we start taking baby steps from getting to the point where they can achieve what we're trying to get them to achieve, and they start to grow in confidence, and they see some benefit in the work that they're doing, and then they achieve the goal, and they're just amazed. And that was our journey with Max. You know what I mean? So we've sort of told a story in a loose sort of way through this TV show, and it gives us a footprint. Before ASD Kids gives us a footprint on national TV.
Yeah.
So
do you see that? I mean, obviously you've been a footy player, you've been a footy star, you've been a Dancing with the Stars star.
I said that out.
We take that out. Sorry, take that out. You've been on Survivor twice. Do you see all these things that you do now as really just additions to help promote and sort of really keep 4ASD Kids relevant and out there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I've done those reality shows.
Yeah.
Is to be able to, put 4ASD Kids on that pedestal, because that's our passion. There are so many. It's hard, man. You raise an autistic kid, it's hard.
Yeah.
And there's no sugarcoating it. It's hard, and it's hard a lot.
So how much has he improved since going through the therapy and stuff that you fought hard to get for him? How much? So
Max did 4 hours a day, 5 days a week of one-on-one therapy. Sitting here like me and you, 4 hours a day from the age of 2.5 to 5.5, 3 years of it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? It'd be hard as an adult, let alone a 2.5-year-old kid. But it was like he thrived on the ability, his capacity to learn was there, but it was like he needed to be taught a different way, so he needed it.
Yeah.
And it helped him.
I'm assuming he's not at school, or he's at school?
No, he's at school. Yeah, he's at school. He catches the bus to school on his own now.
Yeah.
And he's at high school.
Was he having difficulties at school in a group? Because as I said, I teach a few kids with the martial arts, and I've got some kids that are on the spectrum, to various levels, and some kids that do not do well in a classroom environment. And they're having doctors and parents tell them, okay, well, we've got to do this. They're outside of the norm and all this sort of bullshit. But they come into my class with me and they thrive.
They engage.
And I said, your kid is just different. They don't thrive with a group of 25, 30 other kids.
Well, Max doesn't thrive in that environment.
I don't think a lot of kids thrive in that environment.
But I'll tell you, like, if Max is passionate about something, he's locked into it and he's engaged, and he'll learn more than you can learn. Like, he'll learn more in a day than you can learn in a week.
Well, that's one of the things with autistic kids, isn't it?
Mate, he's amazing. Like, he loves gardening. He knows more stuff about his garden.
Right.
He asked me a question. I'm like, Max, you're asking the wrong person. You know the answer. And he's like, yeah, I do, but I just want you to tell me if I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we'll Google it. So he's like, I already did that. Yeah. So, but he thrives in his own way. Yeah. In very different to his sister. You know, his sister is very social. His sister loves being around her friends and the team. You know, when Max went to school, went to mainstream school, like, he had a carer with him, like a teacher's aide that helped him through school and stuff. But he's now in mainstream school, and like today, you know, he's got a written PE test that he's studying for last night, and you know, he's doing good. You know, like he's certainly not at the same learning abilities or not at the same capabilities. I won't say learning abilities, because he learns more, quicker, better than other kids. But if he's not interested in it, he's not going to learn it. Yeah. Like, it's just the way he's wired.
But you know what?
I don't mind that.
That's a lot of kids.
And see, I'm like, was speaking to the dean of students from when I was at the Southport School. He's now at Bond Uni, and I was talking to him about a friend of mine's kid coming there from the US to go to university there. And he was my first 15 coach at TSS, and we're just talking about the way kids learn and stuff and develop. And you know, back when we were at school, it was one size fits all, mate. Yeah, it was. You're doing what everyone does. Yeah. And he's like, you know, he goes, I look back at those times and I shake my head. He goes, we sit you in a classroom, in a physics classroom, with a guy who's going to get a straight A, and we expect you to get the same. But we'd never expect that kid to go and stand on the football field and have a 100 kilo second row on him. You know, so why is that? Like, why can't? But I think the education department has gotten better with understanding the differences in learning capabilities and passions and that for kids, and they're starting to do things now that keep kids in school longer, because there's avenues for them to learn differently. And Max, you know, like Max is at Miami High School, and they are great. I mean, the avenues that they've got for those kids there, particularly in Max's, you know, situation, which is phenomenal. Like, they've got a whole garden at that school now that Max is in charge of. Okay, cool. So Max is doing the garden. They're going to grow produce in there, and they're going to sell it in Miami markets. You know, just giving the kids something to learn and work on, that they feel like, you know, they're contributing and they're actually doing something worthwhile. You know, they're not just sitting in a classroom and with an aid and not really learning anything. They're actually doing real tangible stuff.
That's what battles mental health, isn't it? Like, you know, and we talk about guys like your dad, guys that get older that commit suicide. I've got to think that a lot of that reason has to feel like they're not
in the zone.
They're not in the zone anymore. No, they're not fulfilling. They're not being maybe a part of the community where they could be.
You know, and that's the funny thing, right? Because my dad was the CEO of the club that he loved and played for when he committed suicide. Like, he was the CEO of Cronulla, our club. You know,
but there was something empty there for him. Yeah,
I know, and it's just like, there's got to be more to life than, you got to find that thing.
You got to find your thing.
You got to find it, and you know, whether it's like, I love competition. Yeah. You know, like I love competition. So I started doing triathlons. I started riding a bike, and I started, you know, back playing golf now. It fires me up. Competition fires me up. You know, like, win, lose or draw, I'll walk away feeling good that I've freaking given it everything. And, you know, I feel good about myself. You know, that I've had a crack at something. If I didn't have that in my life, I don't know how I'd be. Like, I really don't. For 18 months, I did nothing when I retired, and after 18 months, I thought, oh man, I'm not in a good place here. I've got to find something to do. And when you go from 17 years of training every day, you know, twice a day some days, to like nothing, like the endorphins in your body, your whole body's just...
Body changes.
It changes big time.
Okay, but what about also the adulation and the respect you got from fans and crowds? Because that's suddenly...
Gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that was probably an issue with my dad.
Okay.
I really do.
Yeah. Because that's got to be hard.
It's a big endorphin rush, man.
Yeah.
When you're standing in front of 80,000 people and they're chanting your name, and
you run off the field. Everyone wants to touch you. Everyone wants you to sign something.
It's something that's you can't take that lightly, to think that you can have that and then it's all gone. And you look at AC/DC. Angus Young can't let it go.
No.
He's still mate. He's still out there playing. He looks like death warmed up, but he's still out there playing. And it's hard to let it go.
Yeah.
It is hard, and that's why some players can't. I was in a position where I felt I was really happy to walk away from it. I'd done it for 17 years, and I was ready to walk. I was ready to retire. But so many players, they don't have the career like I had, where they get the choice. They get told, it's over.
Yeah.
We don't want you anymore.
Yeah.
That would be hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was more than happy. They offered me another contract. I'm like, no, I'm good. I've beat this body up too much.
Man, and you have had some injuries, haven't you?
Tape and tattoos holding me together nowadays, but
you have had some injuries.
Had some shockers, but I never had any. I never had any. I had one injury that sort of kept me out for 3/4 of the season, but pretty much all the injuries I had, I was able to deal with in the off season and get back out there.
Yeah, okay.
And that wasn't.
Have they messed you up, the injuries? Like, are they plaguing you now?
A little bit, yeah. There's a few. Like, my neck plays up a little bit. I had disc replacement in my neck, so that sort of plays up a little bit from time to time. My left knee's pretty average. My left shoulder's pretty average. They've both been reconstructed and all sorts of things. But
can you do an ankle as well?
If I stay healthy, right? If I ride a bike, it keeps my quads strong enough to be able to run a bit.
Yep.
So I like staying healthy and I like riding my bike. It's zero.
But you also went through the era as well where players didn't, same as your dad, where players didn't look after themselves off the field as well.
Back end of my career, it was sort of like the back end of my career, last 4 years of my career, like I didn't drink during the season at all. Maybe had 1 or 2 beers throughout the season. I was certainly no saint, but in the off season I enjoyed myself and let my hair down a little bit. But the back end of my career, it really certainly started to gear towards really looking after yourself. And you look at the guys nowadays, you look at Cameron Smith, you look at Paul Gallen, like these guys, they can play into their mid to late 30s because they've looked after themselves. They've done the right thing.
They get the right treatment.
And I think one of the most important things nowadays with this generation coming through is understanding the difference between then and now, and understanding what it takes now. I was in a fortunate position where I lived through both of those eras, and seeing the difference is amazing. But the toughest thing for these younger players is a lot of the players that they look up to didn't do what they need to do now. So they look at if my dad was your hero, you would do exactly the opposite of what he did during his career.
Yeah.
But if he was your hero and you're like, I love Steve Rogers, and you heard the stories about what he was like and what he did, it'd be the worst thing you could do for your career.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like it's a tough situation, and a lot of those older players are tied up in administrative parts of the game and all that sort of stuff, and the drinking culture is a big thing in rugby league, and it's tough for young players because they're getting told one thing but they're seeing another.
They're seeing something else, and we know same with kids.
Yep.
You can tell kids all you like, but it's what you do in front of them and how you behave and what they see you do, because they will copy that.
What is the saying?
Don't do as I say, not as I do.
Well, that one just like there's a saying about it'll come to me. It's something about don't your words, your actions. That's it. Your actions speak so loud I don't even hear what you say.
Oh yeah. True.
And that's we had an issue with our club. I won't name the club, but it was a club I played for, and they were so big on players doing this and that and the other, but all the administration would do the opposite. It's like, mate, and it was a young roster, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, these guys aren't hearing a word you're saying because they're seeing everything that you do, and those words mean nothing, and it's so important to get that side of things right, mate. Just people do what you do, not do what you say.
And especially when these young footballers are coming through, they're so impressionable.
Oh, mate, and you know what? They're so at risk too. they're so at risk. There's so many pitfalls in the game. There's, you know, people getting around you, and you know, the leeches that are in the game, and the just, oh mate, it's scary. You know, and friends. You know, when you make it, you know,
you got more friends
that are on the outside, and they're like, they want to get in, and it's sort of like, you know, and then there's the pressure from those friends. Oh, you've changed. It's like, well, I have to change because if I keep living like you, I'm going to be where you are. So you either accept it and mature and come with me, or you're not going to be my friend anymore. You know, like, and I had to cut a heap of dead weight throughout my career that was just bad. You know, and I used to hate that when people say, you've changed. So, well, I hope I have. Because if I don't, I'm not going to get to where I want to go, you know. And I was lucky I had, you know, ET in my early years, you know, as a bit of a mentor, and he was just in terms of his ability to. And that's
Andrew Eddinghausen, for those people that don't know who ET is.
For the ability for him to do the right things off the field in those early years of my career, and play hard. And some of the things he told me in those early days, I'll never forget it. I remember him saying to me, "It doesn't matter what's happening off the field if it's not getting done on the field." You know, like you can want sponsorship deals, you can want this, you can want that, and you can get those deals, but unless it's happening on the field, mate, that all means nothing. You know, and just even timing, you know, around, you know, taking $5,000 for this, and what's that going to do for you? You know, like all of a sudden you got all these commitments to this company, and like, do you really need that money, and do you really need the pressure that comes with taking that deal? You know, and just it made me really aware of not just the game, but everything around it, having him in my life in those early years. And it stood me in really good stead for the back end of my career. He retired after, I played with him for 5 years. He retired, you know, I had another 12 years. And I really feel like those early years set a really good platform and maturity for me to pick and choose the right things to do, to put my name to, you know, like, I mean, I could have done, you know, 50 more deals, you know, with, you know, third party, but it just would have put so much more pressure on me to deliver. It's like, even now, you know, these days, you know, you get a few people on Instagram following you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh mate, can I give you this? And I'm like, man, I don't want it. I really don't want it. You can keep your shirt. I'll pay for it if I want one. I'm happy to just pay for one. And, oh mate, can you do this? And can you promote this? I'm like, nah, I can't. I just, you know, like, it's just so critical that, you know, I keep my life as streamlined as I can without all those pressures, so that anything that I do, one, I have this thing. One, it's got to benefit me. Like, I'm not going to, and it sounds selfish, but I won't do it unless I can do something that's going to benefit them. And if I'm not prepared to do that thing that's going to benefit them, then I'm not going to do it for me. Because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the headache. It's not worth the pressure. I've got too much stuff going on with my kids and my wife and our charity and business, that it's just, I don't want to cloud that space. But this
isn't just you. This is everyone, I think. This is everyone's problem with life. We crowd it so much, we try and put so much into it, we put added pressure on ourselves that we need to do this, do that, do this, get this happening, make sure we've got those things happening, we've got to have that car, we've got to have that house, now we need more money, now we need this job. And we don't take that time out, like you said, to go to the beach and hang out and just
be quiet.
Just have a bit of nothing.
It's taken me a while, man. It's taken me...
I think that's our journey, man. It takes us all a while. Like
it took me a few years into retirement just sort of to start to work that out. You know, and I mean, we're in a pretty nice house here. I mean, we're sitting in one of my rooms, and it's a nice house. I mean, I could go and buy a bigger house, but I think, why?
You go and buy a bigger car.
I know. I've got more than enough bedrooms. I've got a few living rooms, and I've got a nice yard. I'm like, well, I could go and buy a bigger house. And we even, you know, we were talking about it at the start of the year, this year, when like Chloe wanted to go and buy land and stuff. And I'm thinking, no, I like the thought of it. I like the thought of, you know, on a day, sitting out, you know, in the property and just having a coffee. Then I think, well, I'm going to become a taxi for my kids because they're going to be miles away from anyone. I'm going to be mowing lawns 24/7. I'm going to be, you know, and I've just got to put everything into perspective. And, you know, we love our life right now, and I feel like we're in the sweet spot. Our kids are going great, things are moving along really well, and I feel like it's from a lot of mistakes I made early that I've learned from. That because I've had the bigger house and I've had the bigger cars and I've done all that, and I'm like, who am I trying to impress here? You know, because the shine wears off.
You're just swinging dicks with everyone else.
Oh, mate,
who's got the bigger one? And hey, this is.
And some of the stuff I see on social media, I just laugh. I shake my head and go, "You wanker."
And one of the things I really try and do is I try and declutter my life. Not just in the shit that's in my house, but the stuff that's in my personal life, the stuff that I do. I try and reduce and make it more simple. And I'm always reminded of a quote from Bruce Lee, who's talked about the daily. He said, "It's not about the daily increase; it's about the daily decrease." It's getting rid of that extra shit to lighten your load, and to really enjoy yourself.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. So I have this rule now in my wardrobe. If I get a new shirt, one's got to go.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Because I just end up with too much clothes, right? So I'm at a point where my wardrobe is just like overflowing. Yeah. And then I watched this show, The Minimalists. Have you seen the documentary, The Minimalists?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's about that. Yeah. It's about these guys were high-flying executives in San Fran, and late 20s, and they were best mates. And one of them was just like, "Mate, I'll quit my job." And he's like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I just quit my job. I'm done. I'm getting out of this. It's just too much." And he cut down to he's got 2 pairs of jeans, 3 shirts, 1 jacket, and 2 pairs of shoes, 1 pair of shorts. That's his life.
Wow.
And then just travels around the US and all around the world, actually, just telling people about this minimalist lifestyle where if you've got too much, then you've got to make decisions on everything all the time. And it's painful. And that's what I was like going into my wardrobe. I'd stand there and I'd look at my clothes like, what am I going to wear today? No, I don't want to wear that. And it just drove me insane, right? So and I was at that point, and I watched this documentary, and then I'm like, right, I'm going to clear out my cupboard. I threw out everything. Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going, oh, where's that shit? Where's my shit? So it's like going shopping when you're hungry. Don't do that. Yeah. So don't watch The Minimalists if you've got stuff and have it clean out first, then watch it, then you might clean a little bit more stuff out. But don't throw everything out, because it's a mistake I made. But man, that was the other reason that I love Survivor. I woke up every day, I knew exactly what I was going to eat, I knew exactly what I was going to wear. They were decisions I didn't have to make. Yeah. And you think, you're really worried about those decisions? Well, when you've got 1,000 other decisions you've got to make that actually mean something, they bug the crap out of me, decisions like that. It's just sort of I don't want to have to decide. I just want to...
And what did you eat on Survivor?
Rice and beans.
Because how much weight did you lose on Survivor?
13 kilos the first time.
Yeah.
And 9 kilos the second time.
Unreal.
I didn't think I had 13 kilos to lose, but I did. I lost it. Went in at 86, came out at 73.
Rice and beans.
30 days. Man,
and water, and just drank water.
Yeah. It was good. It was a real...
So what was it?
Having just rice and beans, so it's a full vegan diet. No sugars, no anything, no preservatives. And you see photos that they take during the show, and they get sent to us, and you see after a week, the white of your eyes are whiter than you've ever seen. The colours, you just see the difference in your skin. Everything is just so much better.
Just staying away from the shit.
Yes, yeah. And it's just, convenience, man. Convenience is killing us.
So what do you reckon, Survivor, would you do it again?
I'd do it again.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd do it again. If they rang me in a few years' time and said, oh, look, we're doing heroes versus villains and we want you to come back or something, I'd do it again.
You get better at the manipulation, don't you, each show?
I think you just get, you just understand the game, and you're just prepared to be more of a rat bag, you know what I mean? And when you do it with players that have played before, there's no hard feelings.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone goes, you got me.
Because a lot of people must take it personally when they
in the first series I played, they did. Yeah, so definitely did. Yeah, it took a little while to get over that one with a few people. Yeah. Not for me, I was fine, but I sort of I burned a few people and they weren't very happy afterwards.
And why did they call you the Godfather?
Just because I you were the oldest. I was a bit of a leader in my tribe, and I was sort of calling the shots, and I was just voting people out. And I'd tell them actually, I got in trouble actually in my first series because there's this guy, Sam. I sort of told him I was going to vote out, and then another guy, Robbie, comes up and he goes, "Are you going to vote me out?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "But you got all afternoon to change it. We're going to tribal council tonight. Do your best." Yeah. Voted him out, and then the next day after that tribal council, the producer comes up to me behind the scenes, and they said, "Oh look, Matt, can we have a chat? And I'm like, yeah. And I said, can you stop telling people you're going to vote them out? And I'm like, why? I just don't like lying. If they ask me, I'm going to tell them.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but it sort of doesn't flow with the game. I'm like, what? That's good. Like, if they're good enough, they know they're going.
Yeah.
If they're good enough, they can change it.
Yeah, start working on stuff to make sure.
I wasn't allowed to tell people. So I had to stop telling people I was going to vote them out.
What an interesting concept of a show, though. And it's been running, 20 years?
20 yeyears, 40 episodes in the US. Yeah, 40 seasons, sorry. So they do 2 a year in the US, and it's actually gone gangbusters over here now. That they sort of what they did that. My first season was champions versus contenders, and what they did is they brought in a few people with a bit of profile. Not everybody in the champions tribe had a profile. They were champions in their field. So we had an astrophysicist, we had a barrister, we had a poker player. We had myself, we had Commando Steve, Lydia Lasalia, the Olympic ski jumper. So there was a few people with a bit of profile, but what that did was, Brian Lake, who played for Hawthorn, won premierships with them, it engaged a different demographic to watch the show. Like, I want to see how this guy goes in this show. So they doubled their viewership. I think they were having like 400,000, 450,000 in season 2, and then in season 3, they had over 800,000 viewers per episode, and then in season 4, They were topping over 1 million per episode, which is huge, for here in Australia. So the Survivor Tragics hated it. They're like, oh, this is not fair. We want normal people. I'm like, how am I not normal? Just because I was good at footy, give me a break.
Yeah.
But for the production team, they were stoked because it's like, the audience numbers are going through the roof. So they're all about selling advertising. So
absolutely, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Yeah.
They want eyeballs on it.
Yeah. Because when was that actually done? That was. It's only just aired recently.
Well, aired at the end of last year. Yeah. But aired earlier this year in March.
Just before
we were finished in October last year.
Okay. And it aired just before COVID.
Yeah, just before COVID. Yeah.
So is that? It goes for a few weeks, doesn't it?
It goes for 5 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, when you're in the show, it's 50 days.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in there for 50 days if you last to the end.
Yeah.
I lasted, I think, 27 the second time, 36 the first time.
Okay. And speaking of COVID, it looks like it's getting close to restrictions being lifted.
Yeah, it's been tough, hasn't it? I mean, it's been really tough for us. I mean, we've really had to put the handbrakes on any more funding that we're dishing out because we don't know when we can do events again to be able to raise money to support any more kids. So we wanted to make sure that we could contribute to the kids that we've already, promised. And it's heartbreaking because we get a lot of emails, it's like, oh, we need help. I'm like, I'd love to be able to help you, but I just can't. I can't do anything right now. The money that we've got is allocated to the people that were already sponsored, because we haven't been able to raise any money. We'll kick things off on November 6th with our first event. We're going to do a golf day. Put it in the diary, Dave.
Put it in the diary.
Need an MC for the lunch too.
I'll be there.
You're there.
Yep.
And mate, it's
it's still about 5 months. It's
a long way away, man. So we're not making any money. For the charity. We don't have any overheads, but our overheads are the kids that we support.
It just stops the momentum, doesn't it? It stops the momentum.
And it's important. We've done a few virtual things. We work with an organisation in Brisbane called Peak Sports and Spine, which is a physiotherapist sort of. Yeah, they're just great crew, but they do a lot of event type stuff, and they've put on a virtual run, which is on October 1.
What do you do?
October 2nd.
Run in your lounge room?
Well, you just run wherever and you upload it. It's like a virtual run festival. Yeah. And we're their charity partner. I'm trying to put together an online raffle at the moment because I can do that. And I've got a couple of things that, I might be able to sort of chuck in there. But other than that, man, it's been pretty quiet. It's been tough.
It's tough.
It's been tough.
And just sort of to, obviously COVID, but then to link the other stuff that we've been talking about obviously makes it really hard if you've got an autistic kid at home trying to, keep them engaged during COVID. That must be so bloody hard.
Mate, that was probably the most stressful time in both Chloe and I's marriage.
Yeah.
Like, she's doing breakfast radio from home, sitting over at the table over there. She's got a radio show to do. I came home from Papua New Guinea. I had to be so the family was in full lockdown. We couldn't leave the property for 2 weeks. We're trying to homeschool Max, and mate, I wasn't a good student, let alone a good teacher.
So, homeschooling's hard,
and he's autistic, so he takes a whole different level of engagement. So we're freaking out about that. Our daughter Phoenix had just started at All Saints, a new high school down the road, and the pressure on her, it was just all new to her. So it was just. Mate, that 1 month of like when we were stuck at home, homeschooling and stuff, that was probably the toughest I've had with my kids, and probably the most, when I say volatile, like there was always a level of peace across the surface in the house, but you knew it didn't take any, just if you broke that surface, then life was going to be hard for a minute, you know, and we all had to bite our tongue a bit. We all had to try to.
But you're also aware of that shit. You're aware of it. Chloe's aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, imagine you go through the households through Australia and the people that don't have that awareness.
Oh, mate.
Because apparently alcohol sales has gone up something like
8 times.
Yeah.
I was speaking to my friend, one of the bosses at West Farmers.
Yeah.
That like their alcohol sales during that 1 month of like lockdown.
8-fold.
8 times.
Wow.
Can you imagine what's going on at home?
Yeah.
Like, it's scary, man.
Well, you've got that. Domestic violence has gone up through the roof. The problem with the domestic violence and the child abuse and stuff like that, which I was listening to someone chat about, is most of that stuff is picked up at schools.
Yeah, right.
So it's the teachers and the friends that pick up.
They see it.
Yeah,
they
like
pick
things
up
of
on
abuse
a
with the
sign
kids,
or bruises or whatever.
And so now,
man,
they know that it's gone up, but they can't tell how bad because no one can pick up on that sort of stuff.
Mate, I feel for anybody who's
it's just been who's
lived in that
shit
situation.
time.
It's it's been hard. It's been hard on the country. It's been hard on the world. I feel like we're coming out the back end of it. I feel like the government's done a pretty good job here, to be honest. Like, I mean, there are people that are filthy, and I understand, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I get the argument on both sides. I understand it. I also, sometimes I got to wonder, was it worth doing all that to destroy so many people?
Mate, this is my thing. I had a friend of mine in the US. I mean, it's like the cure is worse than the disease. And I'm like, I don't know, man. If you had one of your loved ones die from coronavirus and everybody was out, would you think differently? And
I get it.
During this whole time, his dad passed away here in Australia. He wasn't able to come back. It was just awful, awful time, So,
but then I also heard the argument, like, okay, the amount of people that die in car accidents every day is so big, right? And we know about it. But are they stopping people from driving cars every day? Because no, you can't do that because that's really dangerous and someone's going to die. And we want to stop those thousands of people from dying today.
Yeah, mate. I'm sort of torn. Like I'm really like. You look at Australia and you look at like what happened in New York City and all the people dying, and you think, well, that could have been us, but our government acted and we did the right thing. But then it's like it seems like in the US they're just giving up and everyone's just going out now anyway. Like it's sort of like. Yeah,
there's also talk that this thing's going to come back every year in some sort of,
mutated
changed fashion.
Way. Yeah.
So what are we going to do? We're going to lock down for 4 or 5 months every single year? We're not. I think it's just going to come to a point where we just go, that's what it is.
Yeah, I hope, mate. Look, at the end of the day, I hope we all get through it as best we can. But I hope that there's some sort of sanity prevails. And I mean, we live on the Gold Coast. You live in northern New South Wales. Like they're tourist towns where we live. Like we're coming up to school holidays in a week's time, and they're going to open the borders on July 10. It's like, why wouldn't you open them next week so people can travel up here for school holidays? And it just doesn't make any sense.
There's a lot of contradictions in what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, my daughter plays soccer. And then she's just been allowed to go back to training this week, which has been really cool. So she's back playing with her friends and stuff. But when they go to training, they've got to stay 2 metres away from their teammates.
Yeah.
So
there's no tackling.
I'm like, do you sit next to your schoolmate at school? She's like, yeah. I'm like next to him? She goes, yeah. I'm like, it's just bizarre. Like, why can it happen there, but it can't happen at soccer training, But, so there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand. I don't profess to understand. All I know is man, when they said stay at home, I stayed at home. And when they said I could go out, I went out, and I'm happy to get out. And I tell you what, one thing when I got back and they said you're locked down for 2 weeks, I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome. I don't have to go out and deal with anything. I can just stay home, and I loved it. And then after 2 weeks,
but then it gets to a point where you're like, okay,
I realised, man, I love people.
Yeah.
And I love that social interaction. Yeah. And I love the banner, and I love my mates, and man, I started to get a bit like down. I'm like, oh man, is this gonna? I remember I got a fire pit out the back. I remember sitting by the fire pit and just sat there, with a red wine for about an hour, just messaging all my mates, just going, miss you, love you, can't wait to see you, and just message to all of them, you know. Like, it took me a while, but it was good. Sorry if you're listening to this and you're my mate, you didn't get a text. It's not that I don't love you, but sorry, Dave, I didn't text you.
You didn't text me.
But mate, yeah, it was just. I just had one of those moments where when it just sort of hit me, you know, like it's like, man, I'm a social butterfly, you know, like I love that interaction, and I was missing it. I really was. So yeah, look, I'm glad things are opening up a bit, and you know, fingers crossed that things keep going well,
mate. And I'm super glad that obviously we're able to sort of get together today and have a bit of a chat about some pretty cool stuff. Yeah, pretty important stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come in, have a cup of tea, and thanks to your dog for
joining the
show a few times.
Thanks, boy.
Good on you, man. Thank you very much.
Cheers, brother. Loved it.
This has been another episode of the Bold and the Beautiful podcast. Dave Vella has left the building.